So ArcSys has more or less told us that we are going to be dealing with the same BS for quite some time. Now, will this cause Guilty Gear Strive to thrive and do good for the game? Because with having the same patch for possibly an entire year, since we don't have a confirmed date, that could mean that we will be able to learn matchups more, we'll be able to find out more secret stuff with our characters and get a good sense of where the characters are in terms of power and tier lists. Or will that mean that the game may die in the coming future, since with playing the same game and not getting the confirmation that this is a set in stone, this is the final patch, will the game get stale and eventually die? That's the question I have for today. I'm Pandabetic, so let's get into this discussion. So the reason that I'm making this video is I kind of had this thought very recently when ArcSys recently released their dev diary, talking about how they have a new producer and how Guilty Gear Strive's current patch is going to be staying with us for a while. It had me kind of thinking like, okay, well, the patch already kind of feels like they are catering a lot to casual players, since, well, not so much casual players, they actually did do a lot for characters like Faust and Jacko, because now they are viable picks. You got Apology Man making top 8 as CEO, so that's good, shout out to him. But for a lot of other players that see how the patch is overall, there's a lot of tomfoolery, we'll say. There's a lot of tomfoolery with the characters and the changes, and a lot of people expecting, like, Happy Chaos should have been nerfed more, Ram should have been nerfed more, Nago, a lot of people expected that he was going to get a harder slap on the wrist, I guess, like, because everyone agrees that he's kind of a difficult character to balance around, but they definitely thought that he was going to get hit harder than how he turned out to be. And looking at how everything has turned out for Strive, it has me a little bit concerned with how I think that overall, maybe not at a high level, but I think overall people may get bored with the game because of these three things and a little bit more that ArcSys may not be addressing. So the first issue I want to talk about is 6Ps, actually. You had some people talk about how they felt like 6Ps should get nerfed in Strive, because if you do a comparison between 6Ps in Plus R or even Xrd, and then you compare it to how 6Ps are in Strive, 6P hitbox, hurtbox ratios are kind of ridiculous. Like, they're really freaking strong. You have very perfect examples with Testament and Zato having very ridiculous 6Ps, to the point that, like, 6Ps are kind of like your one-button DPs, in a sense. Not entirely, but in a sense. ArcSys has done changes for characters like Kai and Sol to where they're really trying to make their DPs seem like good, reliable choices as anti-airs, but with how the game is currently and how you're able to just block in the air without needing FD like you could in older Guilty Gears, that's still not really the answer that players are going to go for, because it seems like that ArcSys wants you to do that, but realistically, players are still going to be pressing their 6Ps. And with the changes that they did for Season 2, that's just going to convince people to press 6P even more, because with 1.1 here, they buffed everyone's neutral game more or less. So to give an example, like with Ram, since she's the biggest offender here, with having very ridiculous jump in normals and grounded normals with her far slash and heavy slash back in Season 1. I mean, even with a comparison with like Ram jump heavy versus Baiken jump heavy, it's kind of ridiculous how Ram can have a jump heavy that's disjointed but not Baiken. You look at how people kind of wanted Ram to be, with expectations for Season 2, and everyone thought like, okay, they're gonna nerf far slash, they're gonna nerf 5 heavy, they're probably gonna nerf her damage, they're gonna nerf more Tabato, which they kind of did, and they're gonna try and calm her down. And they went the complete opposite direction of just giving everyone disjointed normals. Now, for characters like Faust and Testament, those are great changes because now it makes their neutral scary. But with everyone having some sort of disjointed normal, or almost everyone, with everyone having very crazy disjointed normals now, that's just going to convince people more to use 6P in neutral to try and swat those incoming buttons, because since air dashing is kind of risky unless you're air dashing in to bait a 6P and you know, dash in already blocking, the best approach would probably to be to dash on the ground and throw out your disjointed button, because what can your opponent do? It's disjointed. If they try and throw a button out, your lingering hitbox is going to hit them. Well, if you want to beat that, just 6P. So it's not going to dictate a lot of things. It's not going to be the end-all be-all strategy, but the problem that people had with Season 1, where, you know, oh, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with this? Just 6P it. I mean, I think we've all heard that excuse of just 6P it. They didn't really fix that, more or less. ArcSys, you know, I can understand some people's opinions of nerfing 6P, so then that way there's possibly more ways to, you know, find different answers for things. But they didn't really do anything about the just 6P issue. They more or less doubled down on it. And then we have problem 2. Problem 2, they really tried to fix it, but it doesn't address all the issues, and that's actually the meter system. And I mean like the meter system as a whole. So they did good of making it so that way FD doesn't drain so much when you're blocking something. They did a good job of, you know, giving you a way of still retaining your meter, since now with FRCs you're able to, or fast RCs, you're able to save a certain amount of meter. I think it was like from 6% to 40%, something like that, like, or close to 40% of your meter if you do a fast RC. So, you know, once the RC penalty is done, you can be real quick with getting that first bar back. And while that is an interesting answer, that's not an answer that really fixes everything. That doesn't fix how YRC is still kind of a bad mechanic that can be baited and get you punished really hard, because a lot of people still want like a dead angle, like a proper dead angle. And dead angles, you can definitely bait dead angles and try and punish them. Here, it's really ridiculous. And for a super slow get off me that can still get baited, just like if you RC and the opponent bursts and you don't get the hit freeze, it can get really baited hard. So a lot of people's opinions of YRCs are still pretty bad, and like I think more or less YRCs is like the thing that people wanted some sort of buff. Like, looking at DNF now, DNF Duel has crazy offense and seemingly barely any defense. The defense is more or less just guard really good, use the guard button, and even then, if you use the guard button, you then can't throw tech. Coupled that with the fact that you need 100 mana and white health in order to use guard cancel, that's kind of rough, buddy. So you look at Strive and it's like, okay, at least Strive, you know, has FD. Strive has YRC. Strive has Wake Up Supers. Strive has it to where if you FD, you can push them out and actually try to retaliate. The fact that FD doesn't give your opponent +2 frames, you can get yourself out of bad situations where maybe you wouldn't be able to retaliate, and you can using your buttons if you know what to press and you know the matchup. So it's like, okay, good. ArcSys is rewarding you for knowing the matchup, and they're rewarding you for knowing what to do in certain sequences, but it's still not helping out. There's still situations where, with Ram, for example, she can just go into a Rekka, RC, continue her pressure, do a sword in the corner is +3, it's still her turn, continue the pressure, meter penalty is done, so she's building meter, and everything just continues, and it's like, I'm barely building anything, I'm trying to push her out using FD, I don't know what to do, I can't just let them have free chip damage, and like, yeah, more or less, just yeah, scenario. Another that's rough, buddy. With that like, they put a band-aid on the meter problem, but they didn't really fix the meter problem. And worse, especially in the dev diary, they more or less confirm, like, yeah, the shenanigans that you see on Twitter of people doing these RC block screens, yeah, we meant to do that. I don't even have anything to say about that. That's just a very interesting take, and if that is also something that becomes meta defining, because we haven't seen it in tournaments as of yet, but if it becomes meta defining, if it becomes something more or less like Happy Chaos gunshot loops, I mean, that could be another way that people will look at Strive and just be like, you know what, I'm done. They gotta fix this, and they're not doing anything about it. And the last thing that I kind of want to talk about is the fact that I think ArcSys has too much on their plate. If we really think about it, I think they have too much on their plate, and that as a whole is kind of the reason why they're saying, hey, you're gonna deal with the current patch as it is at the moment, so don't expect any future updates. I mean, they didn't 100% say whether or not if that's also going to affect DLC characters. But if we think of everything that ArcSys is doing, they're supposed to be helping out with Persona 4 Arena getting rollback. And as of today, July 10th, they said, Persona's going to get rollback in the summer. We're in the middle of the summer. So it's like, okay, you guys have either this month or next month. We got to see this rollback for Persona. What's going on here? You have the fact that with DBFZ, they just finished a patch and they have their tours. They have the Dragon Ball Tour, even though Bandai is helping out with that. They have the Dragon Ball Tour, they have their own ArcSys Tour, which they're doing with DNF and Strive. Sorry, Blaze Blue players, I think you guys should have gotten another chance, since now you guys are popping with rollback, but okay. You have the fact that for Strive, there's supposed to be crossplay now, and with that crossplay, there's also the R code bug issue, which ArcSys is aware of, and that's probably their priority number one right now that they're trying to fix. Fix that first, then do the crossplay, and then the DLC characters. There's a lot going on for them, and I honestly think that they're kind of stretched thin at the moment. Obviously, they're doing a lot of work, but they also have a lot of work to do. I don't want to pin that as a major issue, but I also think that it's something that we have to realize, that if we're having issues with Strive currently, try to keep that in mind, because me as an example, I like Testament. I'm having so much fun with Testament, but where Strive is currently, I'm still not a fan of it. You have just the tower system. Celestial is okay. You have the fact that there's not enough, there's too many cabinets, but not enough players to join the rooms and really play. The fact that the cabinets will just crap the bed and you can't join certain people in certain cabinets. I mean, they kind of said everything in the dev diary. If you did the player feedback, like all the answers more or less that they had, they are already aware of it seems, and either they just want us to deal with it, or they are completely aware that it's an issue or a concern of ours, and they already have it on a list. They just want us to stop talking about it, but they are honest issues. So let me know what you guys think. Do you have any concerns for yourself with Strive currently where it is? Are you liking Season 2? Are you liking Strive? Or are you only playing Strive because you like one character like myself? Let me know down in the comments, and subscribe for more videos coming in the future.